First and foremost, before we get started, I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekah Kwadash, and double honors to those great millstone, while unto his truth, and also to those elect that are scattered abroad. I like to say, Shalom. Come back here today with another great, powerful lesson through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And the type D lesson is, I will break the staff of bread. So I like to say shalom to all our listeners and learners. Hope to sweep you today and guide you back in the path of righteousness and back to your true power, which in fact is Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So before we start today's lesson, have a quick news or article here by CBS News. And it said Walmart, Target, CEOs privately warned Trump tariffs could lead to empty shelves soon. The chief executives of Walmart and Target privately warned President Trump this week that his sweeping tariff policy could disrupt supply chains and lead to empty shelves in the coming weeks. Sources familiar with the White House meeting told CBS News. The CEO of Home Depot was also present at Monday's closed-door meeting. Said the Exos was the first to report on the retail executive warnings of Mr. Trump. Said Target and Walmart declined to comment on the specific warnings. Following their meeting with Mr. Trump on Monday, both companies did issue statements. We had a productive meeting with President Trump and his team and appreciated the opportunity to share our insights, Walmart said in a statement. Said Target in a similar statement said we had a productive meeting with President Trump and our retail peers to discuss the path forward on trade, and we remain committed to delivering value for American customers. The two retailers have publicly warned that Mr. Trump tariffs could lead to higher prices weeks after Mr. Trump election win. Walmart CFO John David Rainey told CNBC, we never want to raise prices, but there probably will be cases where prices will go up for customers. So we constantly seeing the warning sign, the prophet. We constantly been warning you about these things. We warn you about war. We warn you about the famine, pestilence, a great time of trouble. So right here, they are constantly saying that they are concerned about these tariffs policy by President Trump. So it's saying that it's going to cause a disruption in the supply chain line. So we already knowing that, they're saying that the shelves should be empty. So also it's going to cause a disruption of these ports. I think they have a major one in L.A. It's another one in Louisiana port. It's another one in Louisiana, and also there's one on the East Coast, if I'm not mistaken. That these ports are slowly going to dry up. Also, we knowing that the trucking industry is going to also be on the decline. So we already know once you cannot get any product or any food, water, the resources, the merchandise, your way of life is going to change. That's why I named today's lesson, I will break the staff of bread. So one thing about it is talking about your support, your necessities, your way of life is getting ready to change. This place is getting ready to be a third world country. We already know that this has been engineered and manufactured from the left hand side, but it's all through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And also we're going to get that phrase, I will break the staff of bread. So we'll get that in a minute so we can get a little bit more edification. So we see it right here. They privately was meeting with President Trump, a lot of things that get ready to happen. So you already know if it's you can't get no food, food, medication, water, things that will support your living, support your family. A lot of people are getting ready to what? To lose their damn mind. And you already know it's going to be what? Sedition among men. There's going to be looting, protesting, uproars of the people. That's exactly what they want. Order out of chaos so they can bring the what? To make this a what? A police state. Under what? Surveillance 24/7. You already know where all this is going. So one thing about to control the people is to what? To control the food. So we already know these things are constantly happening. And also we know that they're getting ready to get rid of the dollar as we know it and put up this digital infrastructure. We goes over these things left and right. So the men of the Lord, we've been warning you about this for, pretty much over maybe 50 some odd years, starting with the elders of great millstone apostles and the bishops and the prophets on down, started with our Bivens on down. So the warning cry has went out, and a lot of people are still right now thinking that they have a sense of normalcy. It's going to happen all of a sudden. That's the way things normally happen on a normal day. When you're not aware, when you're going on with your daily life. A lot of people right now are not seeking the Lord. So now let's get a little bit of this news report right quick. Let's get a little of this.
As stocks and tariffs yo-yoing in opposite directions, the tariffs go up, stocks go down, and vice versa. This was a vice versa day after the president signaled yesterday that tariffs on China might be lowered. Stock prices surged at the open today. The Dow was up nearly 3% before falling back and closing with a gain of about 1%. Nancy Cordes at the White House tells us a warning about the impact of high tariffs on the economy and American consumers may have led the president to soften his position. Nancy?
Maurice, the president just told me he is hoping to cut the tariffs on Chinese goods sometime in the next few weeks, whether he gets a deal with China or not. It's a big switch for a leader who insisted just a few weeks ago that his tariff policies will never change.
With some small businesses already cutting jobs, President Trump now says the unprecedented tariffs on Chinese goods will soon come down.
How soon do you want to bring the tariffs on Chinese goods down?
That will happen, I'd say, over the next couple of weeks. Wouldn't you say? I think so. Over the next 2-3 weeks. We'll be setting the number.
For China.
And we're going to pick, could be for China too, could be for China. Well, we're dealing with almost all of them.
His change in tone comes as U.S. trade with China plummets. Chinese freight traffic to the port of Los Angeles is down more than 30% from last year as American companies cancel their orders to avoid paying an extra 145%. In a closed-door meeting on Monday, the CEOs of Target and Walmart warned Trump that cancellations could lead to empty store shelves in a matter of weeks. And the International Monetary Fund has slashed its annual economic growth forecast for the U.S.
Trade policy uncertainty is literally off the charts.
Looking to reassure investors, Trump signaled today that negotiations with China are already underway.
Are you talking to them actively now?
Actively. Everything's active. Everybody wants to be a part of what we're doing.
But Trump's own Treasury Secretary told reporters the opposite, that no talks are scheduled. And the Chinese said they're waiting for the U.S. to make the first move.
很明确.
If you want to have negotiations, our door is open, a spokesperson said.
White House officials say there are 90 other countries lining up to make deals, but it's the China tariffs that have investors and businesses most worried. In fact, one GOP mega donor, Ken Griffin, said today this trade war has become, quote, nonsensical, and that the White House moves were too fast and too haphazard. Maurice.
Okay, Nancy Cordes at the White House, thank you. Also in Washington tonight.
So we see right here that, China is not budging, even though that America, put these high tabs, and we go into that where tabs goes into a tax, taxing, whatever. One thing about it, we already knowing that things don't get very critical, and also now President Trump is saying that he's going to back down, he's going to lower these tariffs. But one thing about it, China still is relentless. So we know a lot of things are made in China. It seems like every time when you look around, it's always China is the beginning of all this, what's going on around the world, with this digital society also, with these, it was back and forth, all this the trade wars. You know what I'm saying? We get a lot of merchandise, a lot of freight out of China. You know, pretty much when you look around, a lot of your merchandise made in China. You know, pretty much. You know, everything. So we already knowing about. They were saying that they didn't give a damn what America tried to do. You know, they didn't give a damn. You know, so they were going to reverse engineer all of their products. That was a video I put out. I think it's been a couple of weeks back. About they were telling you how much you were paying for Nike. What's these other major brands? Like Gucci and different things. They were telling you how much it costs less than $10 or maybe $5 to make it, and overcharging people's in America. So a lot of things are happening. The Lord is constantly making this red devil bare left and right. So things are constantly being exposed. We're seeing that these nations are constantly rising against nations. Also, we knowing that new alliances against America is pretty much every day. Everyone is turned against America. And also the dollar, as we know it, is what is plunging. The end of the dollar is the end of America. So the title of the lesson was I will break the staff of bread. So let's get a little bit more edification on this right quick, a bit more meaning of it. It says, the biblical meaning of it. It says I did a quick Google search. It says here are the phrase or the term breaking the staff of bread. It says in the Bible, breaking the staff of bread is a figurative expression that means to take away or destroy the means of subsistence and livelihood. Said bread is a staple food symbolizing nourishment and support, and the staff represent a source of that substance. Therefore, breaking the staff of bread signify the removal of that support, so often implying famine, scarcity, and hardship. So that's what we are getting ready to face. Famine. Also famine of the world. Pestilence. Food shortage. Starvation. These things are coming in play left and right. Already knowing about the rumors of wars. They're already talking about this disease X, outbreaks after outbreak. So, right now it's going to be a time of trouble when the hard times are coming upon us, perilous times. So there's a lot of things here. And it says here, bread, let's get a little bit more. Say here is a more detailed breakdown. It says here, bread as a symbol. Say bread is a fundamental food source and is often referred to the staff of life. So it represents not only sustenance, but also the basic needs of life. So, just like I said, your livelihood, the necessity, the basic, your support, how you live each and every day. Like, people gets up, they eat them a nice breakfast, people put on their clothing, whatever they're going to wear, whatever like that, medication, they're under some type of element. A lot of these things get ready to dry up. So it's going to cause a lot of scarcities or hardship, famine, difficulty. A lot of people will have a lot of depression. A lot of people will be worried. A lot of people will be afraid. If these shelves go dry, we knowing that all hell would break loose. So now let's get a quick precept. I have one more video to bring out. Let's get a quick precept. Let's go here first to Jeremiah. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 28 and verse 8. And it reads that the prophet that had been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. So you already knowing that the spirit of the prophets, it was subject to the prophet, so we already knowing about what happened back in Noah's time, Lot's time, and these times also. These are the days of Noah. The warning, the Lord always send the warning out, his prophets out with the mouthpiece to send the warning before the Lord bring forth the judgment. So we are ready upon this time. The Lord's getting ready to bring forth judgment like we have never seen before. That's why the Lord is constantly drying up your necessity, your base, the basic, your support system. Everything is drying up. And one thing about the Lord is constantly doing it left and right, little by little, it's gradually coming in, famine, pestilence, he pestilence goes into all sorts of disease, plagues, sickness, and death. war. You know, the war drums are beating. We already know another one had broke out, I think, in India and between Pakistan. A lot of these things are coming left and right. These wars are constantly sprouting up. And what? Who warned you? The prophets. You know what I'm saying? Constantly warning you. The mouthpiece, making these video pistols in the highways and the byways. Constantly keeping not silent. But one thing about we already know that famine of the word is fast approaching. So the Lord is getting ready to shut the mouthpiece up and bring it forward. The Lord is getting ready to make it good. Verse 9, it said, the prophet which prophesied of peace, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that the Lord had truly sent him. So in that day, you know, when these things come to pass, all these different calamities, all these different crises, death and destruction, you know what I'm saying, starvation, disease, plagues, widowhood, a lot of things are coming at a fast, homelessness, a lot of things are coming, then you will know that a prophet was among you, because what the Lord surely has sent them. You know what I'm saying? One thing about it is that we come into punish time. A lot of people beginning to see that, you know, that these perilous times are upon us. You know what I'm saying? Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation. So now let's go here. Let's go here to Ezekiel. Let's go here to Ezekiel chapter 14. Let's get this one here. Ezekiel chapter 14 and verse 13. It says, Son of man, when the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously, then will I stretch out my hand upon it, and I will break the staff of bread thereof, and I will send famine upon it, and I will cut off man and beast from it. So that's exactly what the Lord is getting ready to do for all the iniquity, all the wickedness. You know what I'm saying? You know, the Lord is getting ready to put an end to this nightmare. The Lord is getting ready to set the record straight. The writing is on the wall. So we already went in, you know, got the meaning of the staff of the bread, you know, your necessity, your way of life, your livelihood. Things are getting ready to change overnight. You know what I'm saying? You know, any given day. Verse 13 in the NLT, Ezekiel chapter 14, verse 13 in the NLT, it says, Son of man, suppose the people of a country were to sin against me. I lifted my fist to crush them, cutting off their food supply. That's exactly what the Lord is getting ready to do. So we already know they're having a disruption in the supply chain, like these ports and everything are getting ready to dry up. We already know that this all by desire, you know, but the Lord is calling these things to happen. Not the so-called white man. It says here once again, he said, my fist, he said, start back over again. It said, Son of man, suppose the people of a country were to sin against me. I lifted my fist to crush them, cutting off their food supply and sending a famine to destroy both people and animal, a time of trouble that we have never seen before. So a lot of people are going to be very desperate. A lot of vexation of spirit. A lot of people are going to be afraid. A lot of people ain't going to know what the hell to do. They're going to die in a great number, because one thing about it, you know, a lot of people are not suspecting it. They're not watching. They're not praying. You know, they're just going on. We know life is just lovely right now. Life is good, living their best life. And the Lord is constantly breaking the staff of the bread right before your eyes. You know, it's time to seek the Lord. So now let's go here to Second Ezra. Let's go into Second Ezra chapter 15. Second Ezra chapter 15. Second Ezra chapter 15 and verse 49. Let's get this right quick, because this is exactly what the Lord is getting ready to cut off. And a lot of things are getting ready to happen. These plagues are not slacking down for a moment. And then this is what the Lord is constantly sending right here. It says, Second Ezra chapter 15 and verse 49 says, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. So that's exactly what the Lord is getting ready to do. A lot of people are getting ready to lose their husband, their wives, widowhood, poverty. You know what I'm saying? You know, you're going to have a lack of resources, a lack of bread, necessity. Your support system is going to be taken away. Your financial system is getting ready to be taken away. Famine, you know what I'm saying? You know, everything is getting ready to dry up. Food shortage, water shortage, you know what I'm saying? And also, we know cannibalism will come into play. That sword goes into weaponry. Also, judgment. You know, Lord's getting ready to bring forth pestilence, disease, you know, all sorts of outbreak, death and destruction, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. So a lot of these houses right now, a lot of people running doomsday preppers and saying that, they're good, they'll be able to survive. But guess what? They're getting ready to waste their houses. They're going to be breaking in and out of these houses, taking what they want. Also, your wife, your daughters, even your sons, they're going to take, it's going to be a lawless time. It's what we constantly warning you about. Things about to get real. So now let's get this last video and we'll get a few more precepts and then we'll close out.
Hi folks, so shortages are coming for the United States of America. This is serious now. For the most part, so far we've seen the effect of tariffs on the markets, but we're going to start seeing things in real terms. We're going to start seeing empty shelves in the markets, in the stores in the United States. So according to the CEO of Flexport, container bookings are down nearly 60%. If the tariffs are not lifted soon, there's going to be a $2 trillion hit on the U.S. economy. The failure of possibly tens of thousands of U.S. businesses and literally hundreds, if not millions, of job losses. This is where things start to get real for the United States of America. The Port of LA, is now seeing a 10% less ships than this time last year. And that's a big deal, 10%. Of the week of May the 4th, in regards to ships that are coming into the port, they are currently seeing a 35% less ships coming into the port. Trucking out of the Port of LA, trucking so far out of the Port of Los Angeles is down 23% compared to this time last year. And some analysts believe that if it continues the way things are going at the moment, it could be as much as 50% by May. This is crazy. If nothing changes, ports are going to get very quiet. And this is what's going to happen. You're going to see empty shelves in every store in the United States. You're not going to be able to get stuff. Okay? This is serious, folks. It really is. Folks, the source for this is Axios and also the Port of Los Angeles. My name is Nick. I'd love you guys to give me a follow. Let me know what you think in the comments. I promise you this is not...
We're seeing right now, these things is getting very critical. That's what the mental law we constantly been warning you about. The beginning of sorrow, these birth pains. Also, we already knowing that inflation is going to be a big thing. Prices are going to go up. Things going to get very scarcity. It's kind of tongue twister for me. But one thing about it, you understand what I'm saying. Things going to get very scarce. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be very, it's going to be a ration in the land, famine. There's a lot of things are coming. So we seen in the video, the man was saying that these ports, are going to dry up. When these things happen, we already knowing that it is going to be a time of trouble that we have never seen before. Let's go here. Let's start here. Start here straight to the point. 2 Amos chapter 16 and verse 18 said, the beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? So these evils are fast approaching. So, famine, death, wars, the powers shall stand in fear. A lot of things are coming. The beginning of sorrow, the birth pain. They are not going to slack down for a moment. The Lord is causing these things to happen. Judgment is upon us. And one thing about it, that's what we constantly warning you about, left and right. A lot of things are getting ready to get real. So we already know when people hadn't gotten anything to eat, hadn't bathed, their children hadn't eaten, things are going to be very, a lot of people going to be very desperate. We already knowing that they're going to introduce this grain of rice. A lot of people are going to trust in this, under the skin, we put it like that, the trust in the strength of Egypt, and they're going to be totally destroyed. So we got to put our total trust in Yahweh Ba'al Shai. We're at the beginning of sorrow, the beginning of all hell breaking loose. Verse 19, behold, famine, plague, tribulation, and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So, the Lord's constantly bringing these things left and right, but they're going to constantly increase, they're going to constantly get worse and worse. There's nothing going back the same. The Lord is getting ready to cut this place off. This place is getting ready to be a third world country. There will be no inhabitant left here. It's going to be a war zone, a blood zone. We constantly warn you left and right. It's time to mend your way. These scourges are not slacking out. They're all around us. A lot of people are playing games, but all the games are about to be over. Verse 20 it said, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. They're not mindful. They see these things happening left and right. They have eyes to see, but see not. They have ears to hear, but they hear not. But one thing about it, the Lord already said, in Proverbs chapter 1, around 27, said, they shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. When their fears come, when their destruction come, we shall laugh at their calamity. It's coming. Verse 21, behold, victuals. Victims go into what? Food supply, your support, your necessity. It said, should be good and cheap right now. People still eating pretty good upon the earth. They shall think themselves to be in a good case. A lot of people thinking that they're in a good case. I'm good. I survived the storm. I'm good. I'm a doomsday prepper. I have this, I have that. But guess what? These things are getting ready to dry up. It said, and even then shall evils grow. The evils are constantly growing upon the earth. Sword, famine, and great confusion, that order out of chaos. These things get ready. The Lord is going to set the Egyptian against the Egyptian, America against America, city against city, brother against brother. All sorts of mayhem is getting ready to have a lawless time. Verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish from the famine. A lot of people going to perish. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be taken in a great number. And the other that escape the hunger, the sword shall destroy. So either way it goes, the Lord's going to bring forth that judgment. Left and right. So we're very close. He's saying that, it should going to be empty shelves. So let's go to this one here. 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 22. Let's get this just random scripture and we get one more, we close out. It says here, 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 22. Let's get straight to the point. It says here, and suddenly shall the sown place appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. So we already know about those storehouses, talking about those ports, These retail store, Walmart, your favorite grocery store, your restaurant. All these things gonna be suddenly be found empty. Empty shelves. So one thing about it, when things dry up, people are going to get very desperate. These things are coming upon us. Is it going to be worse than slavery? It's going to be worse than 70 AD, a time of trouble that we have never seen. It's going to be worse than Noah's time. One thing about it, man, we are here. We're constantly warning. So these things are constantly drying up. Also, we read upon a great economic collapse. Is there going to be a food shortage, rolling blackout, cyber attacks? A lot of things are coming. That's why we're constantly warning you, left and right. That grain of rice is right around the corner. We are living in some very desperate time. Wars upon us. Things are coming. A lot of things are famine. Famine in the land like we have never seen before. They are coming. What are you going to do? We don't have any resources, no food, no water, no clothing. Only thing you're going to have is what? It's faith. That's all we need is faith. Constantly trust and believe in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. The Lord said he will never forsake us and he will never leave us in times of trouble. Trust and believe in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, your true power. So now let's go to our last and final script. Let's go here to Mark chapter 13. We'll close out here. Mark chapter 13 and verse 9. The Lord is going to save his elect no matter what happened. Mark chapter 13 and verse 19 said, for in those days shall be affliction such as was not from the beginning of the creation, which the Almighty created unto this time, neither shall be. So it's going to be far exceeding. It's going to be great tribulation, persecution, death, and destruction. It's right before us. We constantly warning you. Verse 20 said, and except that the Lord has shortened those days, no flesh should be saved, but for the elect's sake, whom he has chosen, he has shortened the day. So that's exactly what the Lord is doing, is shortening the day. The Lord is accelerating time because there will be no flesh saved alive, because you already know what this red devil would do. Esau, Edom. The so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks of, he would destroy everything, including himself. The Lord is getting ready to come to replenish this earth. The Lord is getting ready to revive the earth. The Lord is getting ready to cleanse this earth with that fervent heat. And one thing about it, we already know that we're coming upon these turbulent times, but the Lord is, is going to be our guide. Fear not. The Lord will be our guide, and he's going to lead us all the way to the kingdom of heaven that dwells in righteousness. So the title of the day's lesson, once again, is I will break the staff of bread. So I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rekah Kwadash, Kwam Yasharala, Shalom. Shalom.